Good evening, this is TVRI News, bringing you the latest reports from around the world. First, the headlines. In northern China, 47 people were killed and thousands left homeless following an earthquake in Hebei. In Spain, a former Argentine naval officer has been set free by a Spanish judge for his part in the death flights during Argentina's military dictatorship.
And here at home, President Suharto postpones 15 large projects due to the ongoing monetary crisis. Any delegation from the International Monetary Fund today arrives in Jakarta on an economic mission. Now the news in detail.
President Suharto postponed 15 large projects in order to reduce the impact of the ongoing monetary crisis. After conducting a thorough study, the government has signaled out 15 projects which require extensive funding, which now need to be postponed. 8 projects to be reassessed include Semarang Toll Road, the Ujung Pandang Toll, the Pondok Aren Serpong Toll Road, the Workers' Social Insurance Jamsostek Tower, the Geothermal Project 1, the Asahan Geothermal Project 1, and the 2 Tanjung Jati Geothermal projects. While the 7 projects to be postponed include the Aloha Waru Tanjung Perak Toll Road, the Karaha Geothermal Project, the Sarula Geothermal Project, the Daraja Geothermal Projects, the Palembang Electricity Steam Power Project, and Medan's new airport, as well as the Meteorological and Geophysical Equipment Improvement Facility.
This morning, the IMF top officials team, led by Vice Managing Director Stanley Fischer, arrived in Jakarta to see Indonesia's economic reformation program. As mentioned in its October 1997 package, the IMF wants Indonesia to implement a tough economic reformation program, which needs to be fulfilled in order to get the U.S. $23 billion loan. Anticipating this, President Suharto has announced the postponement of 15 giant projects. Besides Fischer, other officials, including the IMF Vice Director, Michael Kamdesu, and the U.S. Undersecretary for Economic and Finance, Lawrence Summer, will arrive in Jakarta to hold talks with the Indonesian government.
47 people were killed and thousands left homeless yesterday when an earthquake flattened farming villages near the Great Wall in Hebei province in northern China. The earthquake, measuring 6.2 on the Richter scale, struck Shangyi and Sangbei counties about 220 kilometers northwest of the capital at 11:50 a.m. Some 800 homes in Shangyi were damaged, while 90% of the buildings in Sangbei were damaged or destroyed, leaving 20,000 families homeless. The tremor was lightly felt in the Chinese capital. Witnesses said although one shock lasting a few seconds was quite strong and mild panic was caused, seismologists said aftershocks measuring 4 on the Richter scale would likely occur in the coming days. Within 2 hours after the earthquake, some 57 aftershocks shook the area.
The ice that brought down trees and power lines across northeastern United States this week has started to melt, adding to the problems many residents are already experiencing. Here are the details.
The ice now covers almost everything, from the trees to this National Guard helicopter. For longtime Mainers, this storm was unique.
I've been here 58 years and I've never seen anything like it. You know, the ice is unbelievable.
Trees bent over by the weight of the ice took power lines with them. More than 500,000 people in South and Central Maine are without electricity, relying on lanterns for light and wood stoves for heat.
We have a small wood stove in the basement, so we are able to keep the temperature about 63. Of course, we need water to flush our toilets and cook with. We camp, so it's like camping out at home.
The National Weather Service does not blame El Nino for this storm. Instead, they believe a warm stream of air traveling from the Gulf of Mexico collided with an Arctic front from Canada. As this ice begins to melt, there are still thousands of people in shelters, and the governors of Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont have all declared this a state of emergency.
The Palestinians warned yesterday that the peace process was on the brink of explosion ahead of a round of top-level meetings in Washington as U.S. envoy Dennis Ross ended a mission with no concrete progress towards breaking the long deadlock in negotiations.
In the tense atmosphere of the West Bank, violence is never far from the surface. This time, Israeli soldiers protecting the Jewish settlement in Hebron bore the brunt. Palestinians are angry at Israel's reluctant, heavily qualified offer to hand over more areas of the West Bank, and also its plans to build even more Jewish housing. This has overshadowed and complicated Dennis Ross's efforts ahead of the Washington summit.
What I think has been useful and important is that some of the choices that will have to be made are certainly clear to us, and I'm in a good position to go back and brief the President and the Secretary in advance of the meetings and put us in the best possible position to try to make these meetings as effective as possible.
As Ross left, the Palestinians were content to direct their anger at Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
His declaration building 600 housing units in Efrat settlement near Hebron, and their intentions, as they declared today, of building thousands more settlements, just reflects the defiance of Mr. Netanyahu.
But following a cabinet meeting, the Palestinians accused Washington of not having the political will to hold Israel accountable. The region, they say, is on the brink of disaster.
Pope John Paul II called on Israelis and Palestinians alike not to stray from the path of the peace process in his annual State of the World address to diplomats at the Vatican.
Peace seems to have moved further away from the Middle East. The peace process begun in Madrid in 1991 is now practically at a standstill.
Me donnera l'occasion de conforter non seulement les catholiques si courageux de ce pays.
The pontiff said that with the Jubilee year 2000 approaching, he was especially praying for Jerusalem, Bethlehem and Nazareth to become places of justice and peace where Jews, Christians and Muslims will finally be able to walk together before God.
And those were today's headlines. Turning to other news, we still have the latest on PDI Party's annual anniversary celebration and two local human interest stories.
And from France, we bring you the reports on the heated situation and debate concerning the high unemployment rates, and also a news item from Spain. Stay with TVRI News.
Indonesian Democratic Party PDI will announce the names of its presidential and vice presidential candidates by the end of February. This was stated by PDI Chairman Suryadi at a fast-breaking gathering with PDI officials and family members last night in Jakarta. The party is currently awaiting input from its regional chapters. Suryadi also noted that President Suharto still has a strong position in politics. The gathering, which was also held in line with PDI's 25th anniversary, was highlighted with a declaration of the party's stances, which include the readiness to participate actively in the various sectors of national development. The party also called upon the nation to be patriotic in facing the current monetary crisis.
In Kapyak, Semarang, Central Java, an old lady is suffering from abdominal enlargement disease. The 70-year-old Sutipa has been suffering from the disease for the past 6 years. Sutipa, who looks like a pregnant woman because of the disease, has consulted physicians and even psychics alike, but to no avail. The lack of funds has also hindered further examination of her ailment. Neighbors and village officials have extended help to her, but still a large sum of money is required to help Sutipa further. Sutipa is now living with her 11-year-old sister and her beloved cat in a national housing complex in Kapyak, Semarang.
An exhibition of Indonesian-made furniture is currently underway in Jakarta. The event, which is scheduled to last through to the 18th of January, features the products of 53 exhibitors. During a visit to the exhibition, the Secretary to the Minister of the Environment, Sudarsono, noted the importance of concerns for environmental issues in the development of the Indonesian furniture industry. He emphasized the increased demand for environmentally friendly products, particularly by consumers from developed countries, as awareness for the protection of the environment increases. He stressed the need to consider such changes in the consumer behavior, as well as the importance of adapting changes in the manufacturing processes and environmentally safe technology.
Riot police in France have ejected jobless protesters from most of the unemployment offices they had been occupying across the country. The protesters had been campaigning for higher social benefits. Police raided the occupied buildings at dawn yesterday in a mostly peaceful operation. They stepped in after Socialist Prime Minister Lionel Jospin on Friday offered to let the unemployment offices resume its services. Interior Minister Jean-Pierre Chauvenamont had told the protesters last Friday evening that they should realize it was time to end the sit-ins and had pledged to evacuate them amicably. There were clashes, however, in the Mediterranean port city of Marseille and the northern town of Arras, the protesters' strongholds. Protesters pelted police in Marseille and had to be carried out of the offices in some towns. Police also intervened in Nantes, Montbéliard, Grenoble, and Gennevilliers near Paris.
A former Argentine naval officer who confessed to taking part in death flights during Argentina's military dictatorship has been set free by a Spanish judge.
Adolfo Silingo was taken into custody on October 10 after he admitted to his involvement in the flights, where life prisoners were pushed from aircraft into the sea. Spanish High Court Judge Baltasar Garzón, who is investigating the deaths of hundreds of Spanish citizens during Argentina's dirty war between 1976 and 1983, ordered Silingo to stay in Spain and to report to court authorities once a week.
Vamos a solicitar a partir del lunes en el juzgado que se le tenga estatuto de...
Silingo, who says he is repentant, had came to Spain of his own free will in October in the case to have been detained. Silingo's defense lawyer Fernando Gallo intends to ask Garzón to provide his client with enough money to enable him to live in Spain and to pay for his family to travel from Argentina to join him.
Up next is this weekend's edition of Music Corner. Tonight we will feature Indonesian pop singer from the older generation who became popular with her song entitled Teluk Bayur.
That's right, Tia. So let's check out the sexy and talented Ernie Johan. TV's Aprilia Subroto has this story. Stay tuned.
is the pretty face who rocketed a song entitled Teluk Bayur and became one of the hit songs on the Indonesian pop chart. Amazingly, the song put her into the spotlight, including the sales of millions of her albums. Joining me tonight in this edition of Music Corner is the beautiful Ernie Johan. Hello, how are you, Mbak Ernie?
Hello, good evening everyone. I'm fine, thank you.
Well, what has kept you busy lately? What are your routine activities aside from singing?
Besides singing, I'm also doing the emceeing, and well, I don't know, I've just been busy, singing here and there, everywhere, just like a bird flying here and there,
Well, people know you since the 1960s, of course, and many of the oldies notice you singing the Teluk Bayur song. Maybe you could explain to us or go back a few years and tell us your first debut in the music industry.
Well, actually, I started singing when I was 11 years old, and that was in Singapore. It was when I joined the Radio Singapore's Talent Time. Well, I did one, but only as a finalist, so it was about 10 finalists. And after that, I sang for the all Singapore schools Talent Time. That was about 350 schools. And, well, I was so lucky I won the first prize with my song Jambalaya. And after that, Linda Scott from America, she came over to do her shows in Asia. And so when she was in Singapore, she asked me to do a duet with her. So I sang the song, I've Told Every Little Star. And she kissed me on my right cheek. And she said, one day you're going to be a big star too. So when I went to school the next day, when I took a bath in the morning, I didn't wipe my, her lipstick on my cheek. I was showing it out to everyone. See, Linda Scott kissed me. And do you want to know?
Yeah, sure. Can you sing us a little bit of Every Little Star then?
Okay, I've Told Every Little Star. It goes like this. Dum da dum da 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 dum da dum da 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 dum. I've told every little star just how sweet I think you are. Why haven't you told me? Da dum da 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 dum.
Oh, you have a cute voice.
Another recording, an Indonesian recording, and in fact it was not Teluk Bayur at first, it was Burung Gelatik. Well, I was still with my, I don't know, my foreign accent or something like that, like when I sing Kenapa Glautik Manchladi Jumdela, like not sounding like an Indonesian, so I was being criticized and everything. So after that I had to, my tongue, I had to train it and everything. Yeah, but something, I can talk very, very fast. Like when you open a book, like preface, when you first read. So what I do is, it's a tongue twister. It goes like this. Peter Rover eating fishes after catching, eating, catching after fetching, eating raw potatoes. Peter Rover eating fishes after catching, catching after fetching raw potatoes. I can do that, talk very fast. So after that, in 1965, I sang the Teluk Bayur song, and I didn't know it became such a big hit. So everyone calls me Si Teluk Bayur. That's it. The award that I first received in Indonesia, it was for my song Teluk Bayur. So I was so glad and I thank God for it. So I was the first Indonesian singer who received the golden record for the song Teluk Bayur in 65. Yeah.
Selamat tinggal Teluk Bayur bermain, aku pergi jauh ke negeri seberang. Ku kan mencari ilmu di negeri orang, bekal hidup kelak di hari tua. Selamat tinggal kasihku yang tercinta, doakan agar ku cepat kembali. Ku harapkan suratmu setiap minggu, kan ku jadikan pembuluh rindu. Lambaian tanganmu ku rasakan pilu di dada, kasih sayangku bertambah padamu. Air mata berlinang tak terasakan olehku, nantikanlah aku di Teluk Bayur.
And viewers, that is our Music Corner edition for this week. Until next week, we'll meet you again. So keep rocking the world with great music. So long.
Lambaian tanganmu ku rasakan pilu di dada, kasih sayangku bertambah padamu. Air mata berlinang tak terasakan olehku, nantikanlah aku di Teluk Bayur. Nantikanlah aku di Teluk Bayur. Thank you.
And that was TVRI's Aprilia Subroto with today's Music Corner featuring old-time renowned singer Ernie Johan.
Yes, Tia. Before we wrap up our news segment tonight, though, we still have 2 more items in store for you from here at home on the fishing industry and a story from the United Kingdom. Stay tuned.
The population of bili, a rare fish species to be found in Singkarak Lake, West Sumatra, is now under threat. The bili fish was first identified by Weber and Beaufort in 1916. This fish, when caught, has a high retail price and attracts many fishermen. Without concern for the population of the fish, fishermen continue to catch between 1 to 4 tons of fish per day. According to researcher Hafrizal Sandri, such overfishing will endanger the numbers of the fish as the fish need a longer period to breed.
After years of successful campaigning against the use of fur for clothing, from pressure groups to supermodels, it would appear that fur is back again.
In Paris, fur clothing seems to be back in fashion, having survived years of anti-fur campaigns from animal rights groups to image-sensitive supermodels. Real furs are again worn proudly, and there are plenty of them for sale on the boulevards. The high-fashion gurus have brought mink and fox furs back onto the catwalks. They've also draped some of their models in exotic Mongolian and Persian lamb. If all that doesn't appeal, then you could always go for a bit of pink fur trim. By using brightly dyed fur stoles and trims, Paris-based British designer John Galliano has not impressed the designer of Britain's red or dead fashions.
We're a business company, and statistics show that the majority of people out there, majority of women out there, don't want to wear fur, have never worn fur, will never wear fur.
7 years ago, Harrods department store in London closed down its prestigious fur department. It's unlikely to reopen despite the boom in Paris, and not just because of the anti-fur lobby. The fashion verdict this side of the Channel is that wearing animal skins is not just morally questionable, it's also well out of date.
And that's the news for tonight. Tune in again tomorrow evening at the same time, same channel, for more reports and information from throughout the world.
We are Haroen Chaler and Tia Mariadi. Thank you for joining us and
good night.
Good night.